How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I am Mark from Inside the Magic California, and today we have a very special guest joining us. He is a show director. He is a casting director. He is a choreographer. This man has done absolutely everything that has to do with entertainment. Casey Gussler, how you doing, man?
Hi, Mark. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. So let's just get right into it. So why don't you tell us exactly what it is that your roles have been throughout all theme park history, starting from the very beginning, start, and then where you are today.
Well, it goes back a long way. I was born and raised in Southern California. So when I was a little boy, I started dancing at a very young age, around 7 years old. The reason I wanted to get into dancing really was going right to Disney, which was I wanted to be a Mouseketeer. You know, I came home watching, the old black and white show in syndication. Syndication now. So and I went to my mom and I said, yeah, I want to learn to dance. And my mom and dad put me into tap dancing lessons. And then so I set my sights on Disneyland. You know, I grew up loving the parks since I grew up in Whittier, California. So I was only about 20 minutes away from the park. And so, you know, I wanted to be a dancer at Disneyland. That's what I wanted to do. I was inspired by a group called the Kids of the Kingdom that they had at the Tomorrowland space stage right under Space Mountain back in the 80s. And so when I was 16 years old, I auditioned for the Disneyland Parade and got in it, and in the Fantasy on Parade of 1985, I think. Okay. And I was in the parade department for about a year, and then I left for about a year, came back, then started doing what they consider as, you know, their larger shows, on their stage shows. And I did Mickey's 60th birthday bash and Mickey's Nutcracker at the Fantasyland Theater. So I was doing that for a little bit. After that, I got a call from Walt Disney World that they asked me to come out and be a dancer for them. Funny thing is, it was for the Kids of the Kingdom out at Walt Disney World. So I got my dream, my young dream, which was to be a kid of the kingdom for Disney. Did that. Also worked at the Diamond Horseshoe Review out at Disney World until that closed sometime, I think, in 1995 is when that closed. After that, I spent many years not working at all in theme parks. I was really concentrating on musical theater, which was my first and great love, and was going from coast to coast doing that. But then I got a call out of the blue, these things with Disney. They contacted me and they told me that they were opening a brand new park in Tokyo called Tokyo Disney Sea, and asked if I would want to come out and be part of a brand new show that they were creating called Tap Happy 2. So that was myself and another young lady, and we were to be kind of the American hopefuls outside of the big Broadway theater there. And what ended up happening was I got out there, and they ended up needing a choreographer to choreograph this. And so since I'd been a choreographer, with musical theater, they offered me the job. And so I choreographed that show for Tokyo Disney Sea. Wow. We opened that and I was there for about 6 months. And then when I came back, again, I took, quite a sabbatical off, about 5 or 6 years. And then I ended up in the choreography department at Disneyland. And I was with them for almost 6.5 years. Wow. So from there, I went into casting. The job presented itself, and I thought, you know what? I've never been a casting director, but this is something that is kind of, my life is kind of leading me in that direction. And so I began with the casting department with Walt Disney Creative Entertainment, and I was with them for about 3.5 years. Wow. And so that takes me to today, where I am now a show director, choreographer, and writer for Knott's Berry Farm. And I've been with them for 6 years. I can't believe it's been 6 years already, but that's kind of my journey with theme parks.
Yeah. It sounds like it. I think it's very strange how Disney happens to always just fall into people's laps sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, oh, I really thought that I had a nice little trajectory for my life, and then Disney just somehow called me out of the blue, and now I'm swept up in something else and things like that.
Yeah, Disney has always been that constant in my life.
Yeah.
From a very very young age, and it set quite an impression on me. So like I said, we grew up. My family, we grew up about 20 minutes away. My mom and dad would take us to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm once a year. It was our trip, usually, one during the summer, one during Christmas. And so, yeah, I grew up with quite a love for the theme parks, especially the Southern California theme parks.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, that kind of leads me to my next question then. So you kind of feel like, I mean, you kind of hit on that already a little bit, but you feel like as an artist, when you begin your artistic career, you kind of feel like, okay, I've got a really good handle on where I want to go. Sure. And it sounds like in a lot of ways you did actually succeed in that. But was there any really, really big surprise where you were just like, I did not expect my life to go this way as an artist?
Well, I guess so. Like I said, as a young kid, all I wanted to do was work at, be a performer at Disneyland. But my great dream was to get, to go to New York to work on Broadway and really do more musical theater. I dabbled in films as a kid, but I didn't set out. I don't think my goal was to set out to be a show director for a theme park company. Although I'm thrilled to be doing that, and I'm very happy that that's where my life has led. But you're right. The goal was probably just to really be a director and choreographer in musicals, and I ended up in the theme park world. So yeah, that's it was a little bit of a curve, but it's all encompassing within the entertainment industry. I always knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I started in show business at a very very young age, around 10 years old, and so that was just the trajectory of which of the way I thought I would go.
So the time that you've had as a casting director, would you be able to tell any kind of like fun stories or anything like that people wouldn't expect?
Well, I over my life I've auditioned people for so many different things, and you get all kinds of different folks. I've had people just kind of I know I was in Vancouver at one point auditioning folks for, I think it was the cruise line, the Disney cruise lines. I was auditioning folks, and people would just walk in on the street. They see an opportunity to work for Disney, and they go, "Oh, okay, well, I'll go in," and that can get no resume, no anything, just I want a job. And so they'll walk in, and I'll say, "Well, what can you do?" And they don't have much of something backing it up, and I'll say, well, how about singing a song for me? So you can
on the street, I would have no background in any sort of performance. They would just walk up to you like up to you and be like, hey, can I audition?
I was in the studio in Vancouver, and this gentleman just walked in, and I said, okay, well, what are you going to sing? And he said, sing. I don't even know why I'm here. And I said, well, how did you find out about this? And he said, oh, I was just walking by, because we were in a dance studio. We were holding the auditions in a dance studio, and he was just walking by the street, and he saw Disney up there and said, oh, well, they're looking for people. So that can get very interesting. I'm also, I remember I was auditioning, I don't remember what I was auditioning people for, but a gentleman walked in, and he had kind of a rather, not a large bag, but a little bit oversized for what people would usually bring into an audition. And he started to sing his song, and then he moved over to the bag, opened the bag up, and put a wig on, and then continued to sing. I thought, well, this is kind of odd. And then he went back, he walked away and was still singing. And he went back, took the wig off, put a top hat on, and pulled out a trumpet and started playing the trumpet. And then I'm sorry,
what specifically was this for that you were auditioning?
I want to say it was it had to have been either a singer or musician, or maybe both. I'm not exactly sure what the audition was for, but and then he ended the whole thing with juggling. Yeah, he juggled. So this guy was showing me that he was multi-talented. Wow. I kind of got a big kick out of it. At first I thought, should I stop this? This is kind of odd.
You just kind of let him keep going. Just like,
Nah, just let him keep going. Let him keep going. He, because truly, you never know what you're going to get. And hey, it was a little bit smart. I wouldn't suggest this to anybody going into auditions, but it was a little bit smart to go, oh, he juggles, he plays, an instrument, he sings, he changes wigs, he wears hats. Who knows? I've been in auditions where I've looked at somebody, they've come in for one thing, and I've gone, yeah, but you know what? They might be good for something else I'm casting, or I'm looking for acrobats. Oh, this guy, is a really good singer, but he's also an acrobat. Great. Or puppeteering, or whatever. So again, I wouldn't recommend going into auditions, pulling out every trick in your bag, but it is, kind of, something that people can think about, like, be well-rounded, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
If you can do all that, terrific. Good for
I think
you.
it's funny too, because a lot of I think we often forget in audition scenarios that sometimes people just want a spotlight to show them, show they're performing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool view of a casting director, to really just let an artist be an artist, even if it's for just a couple of minutes.
Well, yeah, and I always go back to, I love talent. I love to watch talent. I guess that's why I enjoyed being a casting director. I love going in. I like watching it. I like working with it. I like being inspired by this awesome talent that does come in. And we in show business, you can imagine, we get everything from very, very young and green to the very seasoned. And you'd be surprised, usually, we're on the spectrum of, we want the seasoned performers, but every now and then somebody with, just great natural talent will come in and surprise us. So, that's a fun thing about being a casting director.
Yeah. I remember I had a previous conversation with you about being a casting director, and you were talking about the table shield. And is that something that you can tell us about, or is that?
Well, yeah, that's funny. We tell people usually, the director, the casting director, the choreographer, the musical director, they all sit behind a table, in an audition situation, and there's an accompanist, and then we sometimes put down a little X where they should stand. I've learned to do that more, because some people don't know how close is close. Sure. And so I tell people, don't approach the table. Just come in, sing your song, and be fantastic, and get out. Because I did have an audition. I remember that this was for a production of Jesus Christ Superstar that I was choreographing. And a gentleman came in, and this was a very interesting audition. He came in, and he decided he was going to audition for the role of Pontius Pilate. And so, he picked out me to sing to from behind the table, as I guess I was his Jesus that he was singing to. And I thought, okay, well, let him go with it. It's fine. He can sing right to me. It didn't make me nervous. It didn't make me nervous until he jumped up onto the table, literally. And I'm looking up at him. And the whole production team was looking at me kind of going, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? And I just kind of looked, and I said, sir, and I had to stop him. I said, I think we should get down off the table, and let's, keep you, about 6-7 feet away from me, so at least 6 or 7 feet. I'm going to say more like 25 feet. That would be great. But anyway, yeah. See, so I've seen everything. I've seen everything happen in an audition. So
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, like, everyone wants, like you said, even people off the street, they all want to get their hands on being a part of, like, that Disney magic, right? Mm-hmm. Being a part of the Disney experience in any way, shape, or form, whether they're juggling, whether they're singing, whether they're a dancer. So as a casting director, do you have any sort of advice for any potential auditionees that might be very new, or maybe seasoned, or something like that maybe they don't expect to think about when they're auditioning for Disney?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Or what are you looking for? That's the big one. What do you look for? Well, I look for different things for every show that I cast, whether I'm a casting director or a choreographer or a director or whatever, but a bunch of things I look for. First off, I love performers with great passion for what they're doing. They're confident when they come in. I love confidence. However, I like confidence with a little bit of humility.
Sure.
In there, right. We want that that person that's easy to get along with. I really look at people, like I look at their resume and I'll go, have they done their work? Have they gone to class? Are they going, do they have a singing teacher? Are they in acting? Are they taking dance classes on a regular basis? Whatever whatever they're trying to go out for. Have they really done the work? Have they, become proficient in what they want to get, out of show business, learning their craft. I really appreciate people that know their craft. I look for, this is kind of interesting, and people kind of go, well, what does that mean? There's a hunger in their eyes, a hunger of, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be there. And that all goes back to the passionate thing, at the end of the day, though, I want people who want to work really hard and create great theater. And then, that they're a hard worker. They create passion and integrity in their work. But the last and most important thing, and sadly, I don't think a lot of people think about this as much as they should. I want the kind person, the good person, the one that everybody wants to work with. That goes a long way in, with whatever you're auditioning for or whatever you're interviewing for. If you're a good and kind person, that goes a long, long way in my book. And I constantly tell people, I get lucky. I've been very lucky, especially at Knott's Berry Farm, with bringing in not only talented people, but really, really kind people. I will go with less talent if I can, if I've got an extremely, talented person and a really, really talented person. And this person is really, really great to work with, but this one that's absolutely phenomenal is a nightmare to work with. I'm not going to work with that person. And I'm going to request that other people don't work with that person. Everybody needs to be kind, especially in this business, because your reputation is your calling card in show business, right? How well you did on the last show, who you worked with. That's what I'm going to try to find out about new performers. If somebody comes out and I don't know them, I'll check up on different theaters they've worked at or people that they've worked with, just to see how they are. So that's the main thing that I would say it doesn't matter who you're auditioning for, who you're interviewing with, bring your passion, bring your craft, but be kind to everyone.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've actually taken a lot of these things that you learned over the years as a casting director, and you brought them from Disney to Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I've seen your work at Knott's Berry Farm, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
So can you talk to me a little bit about the transition between you went from I want to be a Mouseketeer, and now
now I'm working with boysenberries. That transition, it was actually interesting. My last work with Disney, like I said, I was in the choreography department, and then I moved into casting, and that took me for about 10 years. And then I just decided, I kind of done everything that I accomplished, or that I set out to accomplish, working for the Disney company. And so I decided, what? I think I want to just kind of take a leap of faith and see what's out there. And so I took some time off. I took kind of a sabbatical for about 7 or 8 months, taught a lot of classes, audition classes, singing classes, dancing classes, and then started sending out my resumes just to different places I didn't even think I would. I didn't know if I'd be interested in working there, but I just kind of opened it up. I started looking at, possibly teaching for universities and their theater departments, looking at maybe an artistic director position in a theater company, which still interests me to this day. But after about 7 months, I'd sent my resume. I sent my resume to Knott's. Knott's I'd never even thought of, in my performing career, because I I don't really even know why I didn't. But I ended up sending my resume to them, and immediately they contacted me the next day. And there was a woman by the name of Julie Owens, who used to be the creative director of Knott's Berry Farm. She asked me to come in and just talk with her and her team. And it's funny because they didn't have a creative position opened at that time, but she said, I'd heard of your work and your reputation, and I really wanted to meet you. She says, we've got this the stage manager position for the summer opening up, and have you ever stage managed? And I not really. I'd had a little experience, just kind of learning as you do. And so I said, well, I'd like to think about this and probably take you up on this if after the summer we can start thinking of maybe a creative position for me. So I did this. I worked as a stage manager on Ghost Town Alive the first year they did it, which was a huge success for Knott's Berry Farm. And that was developed by a gentleman by the name of Ken Parks, who then ended up becoming the vice president of entertainment at Knott's Berry Farm.
Wow.
And immediately he contacted me and said, hey, I'd love to have you, come on to my team, and I want you to show direct and choreograph and write. Which something that I never ever thought about doing was becoming a writer. As I was growing up, people were saying, you've got wonderful ideas. You should write a show. And I don't want to write anything. I don't want to produce anything. I just want to sing and dance, or direct and choreograph. And so I did start right after the summer. I think that was in 2016. I became one of the show directors at Knott's Berry Farm. And I've been there for 6 years now. And I've written and directed and choreographed, goodness, in about 6 years. In 6 years, I've done about 15 to 20 shows that I've written. Yeah. So it keeps me very, very busy, and I adore being over at Knott's.
Yeah.
It
Sounds like Knott's Berry Farm was pretty much just like, okay, we understand that you're like a singer dancer man, but like we're really going to have you go back into all the theatrical archives that you have and just bring out everything else out. So it just sounds like you just became this incredibly well-rounded entertainer now.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's funny because I go back and I think, well, when did this kind of start? I was writing shows when I was in third grade. I remember writing a little show for the end of the year of Alice in Wonderland, and my dad made the props and my mom helped with a little pinafore for the little girl who was going to play Alice, and so I wrote that little thing and I directed it and I choreographed. I guess I was doing all this, and so it started way back then, and I had all these ideas just floating around in my head, thinking, oh, that would make a good show, or that would be something great to investigate and maybe turn into a show or whatever. But it wasn't until I got to Knott's that it was, hey, here you go, create. And I was lucky enough to have somebody as wonderful as a mentor as Ken Parks to inspire that. He would come into my office and he'd go, write me a show, and I'd go, well, about what? He'd go, just write a show, and so I just started writing, we need a Christmas show, great. Or we need an Easter show, wonderful. The terrific thing about Knott's is they're so seasonal. So we constantly are changing our shows.
Right.
Basically every 3 months we get a new show, and that show might run for a little while, a few years, and then we'll change it out. But the changeover is what I find exciting at Knott's.
Do you find that there's easier seasons to write and direct for than others? Like, is Halloween easier than Christmas? Or vice versa?
No, it just depends on I think it's just if they give me here's what we want, write it. It's not easier or harder. I mean, I've had shows that are much more challenging. I did a show at Knott's that we flooded the stage with water. The show was called Beach Blanket Beagle, and it was a parody on the Beach Blanket Bingo film. And I sat down and wrote it, And my set designer looked at it, and I was going to do just a little water trough to represent water. He just, let's just flood the stage with water and have everybody dance in the water and ride surfboards and so yeah, so some do pose more challenges than others.
That is amazing. How long did the waterboarded stage run for?
That was a summer show. So that ran for 3 months 1 year, and then we repeated it a second year. They've also taken Cedar Fair Entertainment, which Knott's Berry Farm is one of their parks. They put it into one of their other parks, Cedar Fair Parks, a couple of years ago, and it may be going into a couple more parks. So I never know when I write something if it's going to have legs, if it's going to go into other directions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, is there anything exciting and new coming up in Knott's Berry Farm that you can share with us today?
Yeah, well, not I can't share the future with you because we like to announce things, and we like to keep your viewers kind of wondering what's going to happen. However, the very, very distant future, which is next Saturday, we open the Peanut Celebration, which we've been doing for a couple of years now. And so I've got several shows opening that I'm working on. One is a show that's going into Camp Snoopy that we did several years ago called The Musicals Round and Around, and it's a little show that talks about the history of music, from swing to bluegrass to rock and roll, and it's done with the Peanuts characters. So we have that going in. That's going to open up next Saturday. We also have a brand new show that's going opening next Saturday on the Calico Mine stage. That's a brand new show that I wrote called It's Your Life, Charlie Brown. And that's going to feature almost all of our Peanuts characters, all singing, all dancing type show. So that'll be fun. Wow. And it's got a very 1950s television show flair to it. And then I have a show that's going to be opening actually on Monday that we do year round. We started this. This was the brainchild of Ken Parks as well, and it's called Knott Radio, which is a live radio show that we do at the park. We have 2 radio DJs, and they not only play music, but we do skits. All brand new material. In that flair of the 1960s. Radio show. Yeah. And so you can you can hear it throughout a lot of the park, but you can walk by and see it live. And we changed that show up. Now we have 5 different versions of Knott for every season that we celebrate at Knott's Berry Farm.
It just sounds like there's so many different shows, so many different side shows and main stage shows and things like that. How I mean, it's got to take an absolute village to be able to do that, and like a real family, really. So yes. I mean, what exactly makes the Knott's Berry family so cohesive and so amazing for you overall?
You know what? It's you touched on it. It's a family feeling company. It really is. It started as a family with the Knott's family, and there's a feeling of warmth that I feel when I go into work. That can come off a little sappy, but it's not. It's very, very true. The kind people at Knott's, very, very much. People we all want everybody to do well, because we know that we're going to succeed better if everybody's doing well. Yeah. So yeah, I really feel that Cedar Fair and Knott's Berry Farm, they really do care about their associates. And that was very, very apparent during the pandemic. I mean, we're still going through a little bit of it, but they were right there for their employees during that whole time. There was something to hold on to, which was really, really fantastic. They kept me working during the whole pandemic. Luckily I was able to work from home, and throughout that year, I just sat and I created new content. So I've got a lot of stuff that's ready to go, whenever we can turn it on. But you're right. The other thing is we have an amazing team that I work with. You're right. It takes a village. It truly does. I have a wonderful writer I work with, costumes, scenery, sound designers, musical directors. I have a wonderful, amazing associate named Karen Bryans, who I couldn't do this job without her. You know, she's my sounding board, kind of my muse. We click, and she's been working with me from the minute I came on to Knott's, and truly. I just adore working with her. But the other thing that Knott's has given me, and I appreciate this so much, is they've allowed me to have an artistic and a creative freedom to do what I want. I mean, they guide me in the direction, and I'll say, hey, we need a Halloween show, or we need a Christmas show, or we need, you know, a spring show for the Boysenberry Festival. But with all that, they're not looking over my shoulder all the time. They're not constantly saying, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? They let me do it. And we also, an amazing vice president of the company, general manager, John Storbeck, who, you know, was also a Disney cast member at one time. You know, he's over as our VP, and he's another one that just lets me be creative and gives me that artistic freedom that, you know, I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate to be able to go to work every day and do what I love, and to have the support behind it.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I mean, that sounds great. I kind of want to work at Knott's Berry Farm now. So
no, come on down. It's a great place to work. Yeah. I'm thrilled to be a part of them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was great. It's always great catching up with you. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah.
Casey, thank you so much again for being on our show. Again, I'm Mark from Inside the Magic in California, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye, guys.